Hello, hello! I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. Today I'll be sharing tips to getting unstuck, whether that means getting stuck in generating new ideas or getting stuck in writing new words in our current work in progress. No matter what, being unable to write is a miserable feeling. This has happened for me when I write plots or characters into a corner and don't know how to get out. Alternatively, this occurs when I've underwritten by a good 10,000 words and don't know how to get the story to the length I want without unnecessary padding. When it comes to running, I get stuck all the time. I'll get bored with a workout or a specific course. That leads me to plateau where I'm not getting faster or improving my stamina despite pushing myself through those various workouts. It seems counterintuitive, but one way to drive down long distance times is to incorporate speed workouts. By doing something different, even if it is running, say, 400 meters as fast as you can a couple of times a week, to really hone in those sprint workouts, you can drive down your marathon time, or in my case, your half marathon time. It's in that shift that the muscles get trained differently, and that improves my overall running. In a similar way, these are my 7 tips to getting unstuck with writing. Number 1, stuck in a novel, write a short story. I've given similar advice when it comes to working through problems with writer's block, yet one of the quickest methods I've used to work through problems in a novel is to do something else, like writing a short story. Writing another short story is a great way to continue to stretch my writing muscles when I'm otherwise stuck in my main novel. Better yet, this is a chance for me to write for, say, an hour-long exercise on something completely different that isn't giving me trouble. In that harmless 1-hour distraction exercise, the short story doesn't have the same pressures that I apply to my main novels. It doesn't have to have a coherent plot or to ramp up the tension or to tell some really important story. It can be just some rambling thing that I write for myself. That free-thinking mindset has helped me resolve problems in my main novels while I'm focused elsewhere. Those short stories also work to rekindle my interest in writing as I get to create absolutely insane stories because no one's ever going to read them. Number 2, stuck in the swampy middle? Add an explosion. This could be a literal bomb, or it could be a dramatic reveal. The point is to transform an in-between moment which can be easily skimmed into something which we want to write. That will come through for the reader so that they can't wait to turn more pages as they anxiously find out what happens next. Maybe force the hero to choose between chasing the villain or saving their hometown. Better yet, have their love interest also be from the same hometown, and they are pissed when the hero decides to chase the villain. That will build in a lot of extra drama and lead to tricky situations throughout the remainder of the book. The most important thing is to make this not be forced drama. I hate those moments. They feel fake. Number 3, put a pin in it. Are you still stuck in the swampy middle even after adding that lens flare explosion? Then why not skip ahead to the next scene which makes you excited to tell? This can be a risky move if you jump to the final battle, you write this amazing moment, and then you go back and work forward to connect the dots, only to find out that that final battle no longer works. I made that mistake and had to rewrite my climactic showdown. Still, I find it a lot easier to edit my work than it is to write new words. Number 4, backtrack. Getting stuck in a story could mean that the story itself has gotten lost. Now, I have very limited wilderness survival skills, but these are 2 things I think I've heard for how to get unlost in the woods. Please, if you are actually lost though, you probably shouldn't be listening to my advice. One method is to wait where you are. By staying put, you in theory become easier to find as you're not walking in a random direction and probably getting more lost as you hope to stumble across somebody. The other method is to backtrack. Assuming you have some notion of the direction you came from, you can work backwards until you come across something which looks familiar. In writing terms, this means go back to the last chapter you know was on the right path and work forward from there, adjusting as needed. This could also mean starting at the beginning and rereading the story to identify its core. That way we can figure out if we've wandered too far away from that idea or if we're no longer telling the same story. Number 5, delete. Building off my previous point, if the story has deviated too far from the outline and can't be wrangled back, the best way forward may be to delete a scene or even an entire chapter. Obviously don't destroy what we write. I've cut sentences, scenes, and chapters out and put them in their own folder. That way I can draw from my discard pile if I want to use a certain scene or create a specific mood. I've already done the work, so why not repurpose it when I can? I frequently add entire scenes which I cut from earlier stories. With minimal changes, these become fully functional moments in the story, and they can hit the emotional beats that I was originally intending. Deleting may be the best way forward, but remember to delete with care. Number 6, want versus need. I'll create a whole video about character wants and needs. Suffice to say that these can get a story unstuck. Figure out what the character wants and needs and use that to drive the story forward. Extra points if these conflict or if the need comes at the cost of sacrificing the want. And lastly, number 7, ask the difficult question. Do we still want to tell the story? When we first get those sparks of inspiration, it is easy to want to write. Taking the time to develop the story and to write each individual scene is the tough part, especially when a shiny new idea comes along. There will always be new ideas, so unless we're absolutely certain that we no longer want to tell our current story, my suggestion is to mentally push forward to finish out our existing project without moving on to something else. Otherwise, we could perpetually keep starting new projects that we never finish. As I frequently say here, my first drafts suck. Getting them down on paper, though, is one of the most important steps because that allows us to continue to refine them until they become decent and then great stories. No one can write an outstanding draft 1, so you get the incredible stories behind me takes multiple rounds. Drafts 2 onward are all about raising tension, closing plot holes, giving those stories heart, and really making us want to spend time with those characters. Maybe chasing every new shiny idea is a way to procrastinate and not put in the time needed to finish those stories. As an alternative, we can use those shiny new ideas to create short stories, as I mentioned in my first point. That way we can improve our creativity and writing skills. That way after an hour, we can go back to finishing our current work in progress. All in all, don't give up on a story unless we are 100% certain we no longer want to tell it. As a bonus, here is an honorable mention. Do something else. The last weekend at the time of recording this was the Worldwide Write-A-thon, and you can see my productivity sprint up here. I had written myself into a corner during my second sprint, and in the third one I skipped ahead to tell a scene that I wanted to. Well, while I was on a run later that day, I figured out a solution to the part where I was stuck in. Better than that, I had come up with something really creative and a way to make that chapter much more interesting so that I was excited to get back to writing. By doing something else, namely going for a run, I was able to devote the mental capacity to fixing the problems within my story. Anyways, those are my 7 tips to getting unstuck, along with a bonus. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. If you enjoy my tips to getting unstuck, then please press those like and subscribe buttons. Let me know what tricks you use to get your stories back on track. Do you agree with my opinions, or is everything I said wrong? I post my running and writing progress on Instagram and Twitter as Running to Write, so be sure to follow me and join in with your own thoughts. Don't forget to sign up for the Running to Write monthly newsletter if you want regular updates on my sort of musings, pitfalls, and lessons learned. The link is in the description below. Do you want to get links to my video bloopers? Then sign up for my monthly newsletter. Do you want to get these bloopers sooner? Then check out my Ko-fi page for bonus content. See you next time. Until then, get unstuck in our current work in progress. And don't be afraid to ditch our boots in the mud to keep going.